guys. Welcome. Another beautiful day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Sun's out, no wind, planes have flown over, and we're going to get back into our reading the scriptures today, and it's going to be an exciting one. It's about David and Bathsheba. If you've ever heard that story, it's a pretty interesting story. So let's get into it. It was now spring, the time when kings go to war, and David set out the whole Israelite army under the command of Joab and his officers. They destroyed the Ammonite army and surrounded the capital city of Rabbah, but David stayed in Jerusalem. Late one afternoon, David got up from a nap, and he was walking around on the flat roof of his palace. A beautiful young woman was down below in her courtyard, bathing as her religion required. And that is a requirement for worshiping God. David happened to see her, and he sent one of his servants to find out who she was. And the servant came back and told David, her name is Bathsheba. She is the daughter of Elam, and she is the wife of Uriah the Hittite. So, somebody's wife. David sent some messengers to bring her to his palace, and she came to him, and he slept with her. And then she returned home. But later, when she found out that she was going to have a baby, she sent someone to David with this message, "I'm pregnant." David sent a message to Joab, "Send Uriah the Hittite to me." Joab sent Uriah to David's palace, and David asked him, "Is Joab well? How is the army doing, and how about the war?" Then David told Uriah, "Go home and clean up." Uriah left the king's palace, and David had dinner sent to Uriah's house. But Uriah didn't go home. Instead, he slept outside the entrance to the royal palace where the king's guards slept. Someone told David that Uriah had not gone home. So the next morning, David asked him, "Why didn't you go home? Haven't you been away for a long time?" Uriah answered, "The sacred chest and the armies of Israel and Judah are camping out somewhere in the fields with our commander Joab and his officers and his troops. Do you really think I would go home to eat and drink and sleep with my wife? I swear by your life that I would not." Then David said, "Stay here in Jerusalem today, and I will send you back tomorrow." Uriah stayed in Jerusalem that day, and then the next day David invited him for dinner. So Uriah ate with David and drank so much that he got drunk, but he still didn't go home. He went out and he slept on his mat near the palace guards. And early the next morning, David wrote a letter and told Uriah to deliver it to Joab. And the letter said, "Put Uriah on the front line where the fighting is the worst. Then pull the troops back from him so that he will be wounded and die." Joab had been carefully watching the city of Rabbah, and he put Uriah in a place where he knew there were some of the enemy's best soldiers. And when the men of the city came out, they fought and they killed some of David's soldiers. Uriah the Hittite was one of them. Joab sent a messenger to tell David everything that was happening in the war, and he gave the messenger these orders. "When you finish telling the king everything that has happened, he may get angry and ask, 'Why did you go so near the city to fight? Didn't you know they would shoot arrows from the wall? Don't you know how Amalek, the son of Gideon, was killed at Thebes? Didn't a woman kill him by dropping a large rock from the top of the city wall? Why did you go so close to the city walls?' Then you tell him one of your soldiers who was killed with Uriah the Hittite." The messenger went to David and reported everything Joab had told him. And he added, "The enemy chased us from the wall and out into the open fields, but we pushed them back as far as the city gate. Then they shot arrows at us from the top of the wall, and some of your soldiers were killed, and one of them was Uriah." David replied, "Tell Joab to cheer up and not to be upset about what happened. You never know who will be killed in a war. Tell him to strengthen his attack against the city and break through its walls." When Bathsheba heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. Then after the time for mourning was over, David sent someone to bring her to the palace, and she became David's wife, and they had a son. Wow. What deception here. The Lord was angry at what David had done. I guess so. And he sent Nathan the prophet to tell this story to David. A rich man and a poor man lived in the same town. The rich man owned a lot of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had only one little lamb that he bought and raised. The lamb became a pet for him and his children. He even let it eat from his plate, drink from his cup, sleep on his lap. The lamb was like one of his own children. One day, someone came to visit the rich man, but the rich man didn't want to kill any of his own sheep or cattle and serve it to the visitor. So he stole the poor man's little lamb and served it instead. David was furious with the rich man, and he said to Nathan, "I swear by the living Lord that the man who did this deserves to die. And because he didn't have any pity on the poor man, he will have to pay 4 times what the lamb was worth." Then Nathan told David, "You are that rich man, David. Now listen to what the Lord God of Israel says to you. I chose you to be the king of Israel. I kept you safe from Saul. I even gave you his house and his wives. I let you rule Israel and Judah, and if that not been enough, I would have given you much more. Why did you disobey me and do such a horrible thing? You murdered Uriah the Hittite by having the Ammonites kill him so you could take his wife. Because you wouldn't obey me and took Uriah's wife for yourself, your family will never live in peace. Someone from your own family will cause you a lot of trouble, and I will take your wives and give them to another man before your very eyes, David. He will go to bed with them while everyone looks on, and what you did was in secret, but I will do this in the open for everyone in Israel to see." Wow. And this is what the Lord does sometimes when we do things, bad things in secret. He exposes them, and we get found out. So we're really not hiding anything from the Lord. David then said, "I have disobeyed the Lord." "Yes, you have," Nathan answered. "You showed you didn't care what the Lord wanted. He has forgiven you and you won't die, but your newborn son will." And then Nathan went back home. Wow. So the Lord made David's young son very sick. So David went without eating to show his sorrow, and he begged God to make the boy well. So even though David committed horrible sin, murder, adultery, he repented and asked God to forgive him. And the Lord did have mercy. They said to each other, "Even when the boy was alive, David wouldn't listen to us. How can we tell him his son is dead? He might do something terrible." David noticed his servants whispering, and he knew the boy was dead. "Did my son die?" he asked his servants. "Yes, he did," they answered. David got up off the floor. He took a bath, combed his hair, and he dressed himself. He went into the Lord's tent and he worshipped. Then he went back home. David asked for something to eat, and when his servants brought him some food, he ate it. His officials said, "What are you doing? You went without eating and cried for your son while he was alive, but now that he's dead, you're up and eating?" David answered, "While he was still alive, I went without food and cried because there was still hope. Hope. I said to myself, who knows? Maybe the Lord will have pity on me and let the child live. But now that he's dead, why should I go without eating? I can't bring him back. Someday I will join him in death, but he can't return to me." So that clearly tells us that the dead can't return to us, but we can join them. David comforted his wife Bathsheba and slept with her. And later on she gave birth to another son, and she named him Solomon. And the Lord loved Solomon and sent Nathan the prophet to tell David the Lord will call him Jedediah. Now, looking at my notes, it's a Hebrew name and it means loved by the Lord. Meanwhile, Joab had been in the country of Ammon, attacking the city of Rabbah, and he captured the royal fortress and sent a messenger to tell David, I have attacked Rabbah and captured the fortress guarding the city water supply. Call the rest of the army together. Then surround the city, capture it yourself. If you don't, everyone will remember that I captured the city. David called the rest of the army together and they attacked Rabbah. He captured the city and he took the crown from the statue of their god Milcom. The crown was made of 75 pounds of gold and there was a valuable jewel on it. David put the jewel on his own crown and he also carried off everything else of value. David made the people of Rabbah tear down the city walls with iron picks and axes, and then he put them to work making bricks. He did the same thing with all the other Ammonite cities. David went back to Jerusalem, and the people of Israel returned to their homes. David had a beautiful daughter named Tamar, who was the sister of Absalom. She was also the half-sister of Amnon, who fell in love with her. But Tamar was a virgin, and Amnon could not think of a way to be alone with her. He was so upset about it that he made himself sick. Amnon had a friend named Jonadab, who was the son of David's brother Shema. Jonadab always knew how to get what he wanted, and he said to Amnon, "What's the matter with you? You're the king's son. You shouldn't have to go around feeling sorry for yourself every morning." Amnon said, "I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." Jonadab told him, "Lie down on your bed and pretend to be sick. And when your father comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar so you can watch her cook something for you, and then she can serve you the food." Oh, another plane. So Amnon went to bed and prepared to be sick. And when the king came to see him, Amnon said, "Please ask Tamar to come over. She can make some special bread while I watch, and then she can serve me the bread." David told Tamar, "Go over to Amnon's house and fix him some food." And when she got there, he was lying in bed. She mixed the dough, made the loaves, and baked them while he watched. And then she took the bread out of the pan and put it on his plate, but he refused to eat it. Amnon said, "Send the servants out of the house." And after they had gone, he said to Tamar, "Serve the food in my bedroom." Tamar picked up the bread that she had made and brought it to Amnon's bedroom. But as she was taking it over to him, he grabbed her and he said, "Come to bed with me." She answered, "No, please don't force me. This sort of thing isn't done in Israel. It's too disgusting, what we would call rape. Think of me. I'll be disgraced forever, and think of yourself. Everyone in Israel will say you're nothing but trash. Just ask the king, and he will let you marry me." So in those days, it was disgusting to rape, and it was a great sin, but you were allowed to marry your sister or half-sister at this point. But Amnon would not listen to what she said. He was stronger than she was, so he overpowered her, and he did rape her. Then Amnon hated her even more than he had loved her before, so he told her, "Get up and get out." What a terrible thing to rape someone and then treat them so badly. She said, "Don't send me away. That would be worse than what you have already done." But Amnon, he wouldn't listen. He called in his servant and he said, "Throw this woman out. Lock the door." The servant made her leave, and he locked the door behind her. The king's unmarried daughters used to wear long robes with sleeves. Tamar tore the robe she was wearing as a sign of grief and put ashes on her head. And then she covered her face with her hands and cried loudly as she walked away. Tamar's brother Absalom said to her, "How could Amnon have done such a terrible thing to you? But since he's your brother, don't tell anyone what happened. Just try not to think about it." That would be kind of hard to do, wouldn't it? Tamar soon moved into Absalom's house, but she was always sad and lonely. When David heard what had happened to Tamar, he was very angry. But Amnon was his oldest son and also his favorite, and David would not do anything to make Amnon unhappy. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of deception going on here. Here we have King David plotting to murder another man who was married and take his wife. And now his daughter's been raped, and he's refusing to persecute his son who had done it. Well, 2 years later, Absalom's servants were cutting wool from his sheep in Bel-Hazor, near the town of Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's sons to be there. And then he went to David and he said, "My servants are cutting the wool from my sheep. Please come and join us." David answered, "No, my son, we won't go. It would be too expensive for you." Absalom tried to get him to change his mind, but David did not want to go. He only said that he hoped they would have a good time. Absalom said, "If you won't go, at least let my brother Amnon come with us." David answered, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom kept on insisting, and finally David let Amnon and all of his other sons go with Absalom. Absalom has a plan here. Absalom prepared a banquet fit for a king, but he told his servants, "Keep an eye on Amnon. When he gets a little drunk from the wine and is feeling good, I'll give the signal, then kill him. I've commanded you to do it, so don't be afraid. Be strong and brave." Absalom's servants killed Amnon, just as Absalom had told them. The rest of the king's sons quickly rode away on their mules to escape from Absalom. While they were on their way to Jerusalem, someone told David, "Absalom has killed all of your sons. Not even one is left." David got up, and in his sorrow he tore his clothes and lay down on the ground, and his servants remained standing, but they tore their clothes too. Then David's nephew, Jonadab, said, "Your Majesty, not all of your sons were killed. Only Amnon, your favorite, is dead." On the day that Amnon raped Tamar, Absalom decided to kill him. "Don't worry about the report that all your sons were killed. Only Amnon is dead, and Absalom has run away." So not only was Tamar raped, now one brother has killed another brother. The things we do, huh? One of the guards noticed a lot of people coming along the hillside on the road to Horonaim, and he went and told the king, "I saw some men coming along Horonaim road." Jonadab said, "Your Majesty, look, here comes your sons now, just as I told you." And no sooner had he said it than David's sons came in. They were weeping out loud, and David and all his officials cried just as loudly. David was sad for a long time because Amnon was dead. Absalom had run away to Geshur, where he stayed for 3 years with King Talmai, the son of Ammitad. David still felt so sad over the loss of Amnon that he wanted to take his army there and capture Absalom. Joab knew that David couldn't stop thinking about Absalom, and he sent someone to bring in the wise woman who lived in Tekoa. Joab told her, "Put on funeral clothes and don't use any makeup. Go to the king and pretend you have spent a long time mourning the death of a loved one." And then he told her what to say. The woman from Tekoa. Now, I just want to read in my notes a little bit here about this woman from Tekoa, if it says anything. Nope. Went to David. She bowed very low and she said, "Your Majesty, please help me." David asked, "What's the matter?" She replied, "My husband is dead, and I'm a widow. I had 2 sons, but they got into a fight out in the field where there was no one to pull them apart, and one of them killed the other. Now all of my relatives have come to me and said, 'Hand over your son. We're going to put him to death for killing his brother.' But what they really want is to get rid of him so they can take over our land. Please don't let them put out my only flame of hope." It's the word hope again. "There won't be anyone left on this earth to carry on my husband's name." "Go on home," David told her. "I'll take care of this matter for you." The woman said, I hope your decision doesn't cause any problems for you, but if it does, you can blame me. He said, if anyone gives you any trouble, please bring them to me, and it won't happen again. Please, she replied, swear by the Lord your God that no one will be allowed to kill my son. He said, I swear by the living Lord that no one will touch even a hair on his head. And then she asked, Your Majesty, may I say something? Yes, David said. The woman said, haven't you been hurting God's people? Your own son had to leave the country. And when you judged in my favor, it was the same as admitting that you should have let him come back. We each must die and disappear like water poured out on the ground. But God doesn't take our lives. Instead, he figures out ways of bringing us back when we run away. Your Majesty, I came here to tell you about my problem because I was afraid of what someone might do to me. I decided to come to you because I thought you could help. In fact, I knew that you would listen and save my son and me from those who want to take the land that God gave us. I can rest easy now that you have given your decision. You know the difference between right and wrong, just like an angel of God, and I pray that the Lord your God will be with you. Then David said to the woman, now I'm going to ask you a question, and don't try to hide the truth. The woman replied, please go ahead, Your Majesty. David asked, did Joab put you up to this? The woman answered, Your Majesty, I swear by your life that no one can hide the truth from you. Yes, Joab did tell me what to say, but only to show you the other side of this problem. You must be as wise as the angel of God to know everything that goes on in this country. David turned to Joab and said, it seems that I've already given my decision. Go and bring Absalom back. Joab bowed very low and he said, Your Majesty, I thank you for giving your permission. It shows that you approve of me. Joab went to Geshur to get Absalom, but when they came back to Jerusalem, David told Joab, I don't want to see my son Absalom. Tell him to stay away from me. So Absalom went to his own house without seeing his father. No one in all of Israel was as handsome and well-built as Absalom. He got his hair cut once a year, and when the hair was weighed, it came to about 5 pounds. Absalom had 3 sons, and he also had a daughter named Tamar, who grew up to be very beautiful. There goes the geese, probably down to the lagoon here. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years without seeing his father. 2 years he didn't see his father. He wanted Joab to talk to David for him, so one day he sent a message asking Joab to come over, but Joab refused. Absalom sent another message, but Joab still refused. Finally, Absalom told his servants, Joab's barley field is right next to mine. Go set it on fire. And they did. Joab went to Absalom's house and demanded, Why did your servants set my field on fire? Absalom answered, You didn't pay any attention when I sent for you. I want you to ask my father why he told me to come back from Geshur. I was better off there. I want to see my father now. If I'm guilty, let him kill me. So Joab went to David and told him what Absalom had said. And David sent for Absalom, and Absalom came, and he bowed very low, and David leaned over and kissed him. And I just want to say right now, if you're estranged from any of your relatives, if there's been bad blood, so to speak, please forgive. Please try and let it go and give it to God. And ask him to restore your relationship. Because on this earth, that's all we have is our relationships. Nothing else really matters. So be humble, let it go, and forgive. And restore that relationship back and have fellowship and love together. That's where you'll find your most comfort and love in this life. Well, sometime later, Absalom got himself a chariot with horses to pull it, and he had 50 men run in front. And he would get up early each morning and wait by the side of the road that led to the city gate. And anyone who had a complaint to bring to King David would have to go that way. And Absalom would ask each of them, where are you from? If they said, I'm from a tribe in the north, Absalom would say, you deserve to win your case. It's too bad the king doesn't have anyone to hear complaints like yours. I wish someone would make me the judge around here. I would be fair to everyone. Whenever anyone would come to Absalom and start bowing down, he would reach out and hug and kiss them. That's how he treated everyone from Israel who brought a complaint to the king. And soon everyone in Israel liked Absalom better than they liked David. Oh boy. 4 years later, Absalom said to David, please let me go to Hebron. I have to keep a promise that I made to the Lord when I was living with the Arameans at Geshur. I promised that if the Lord would bring me back to live in Jerusalem, I would worship him in Hebron. We got the helicopters going over again. That's because there's a base just over here off the water. So they do fly back and forth. David gave his permission, and Absalom went to Hebron. He took 200 men from Jerusalem with him, but they had no idea what he was going to do. Absalom offered sacrifices in Hebron, and he sent someone to Gilo to tell David's advisor, Ahithophel, to come. More and more people were joining Absalom and supporting his plot. Meanwhile, Absalom had secretly sent some messengers to the northern tribes of Israel. And the messengers told everyone, when you hear the sound of the trumpets, you must shout, Absalom now rules as king in Hebron. Oh boy. Ah, there goes a beautiful heron. A messenger came and told David, everyone in Israel is on Absalom's side. David's officials were in Jerusalem with him, and he told them, let's get out of here. We'll have to leave soon, or none of us will escape from Absalom. Hurry! If he moves fast, he could catch us while we're still here. Then he will kill us and everyone else in the city. So now David is running from his own son. The official said, Your Majesty, we'll do whatever you say. David left behind 10 of his wives to take care of the palace, but the rest of his family and his officials and soldiers, they went with him. They stopped at the last house at the edge of the city, and then David stood there and watched while his regular troops and his bodyguards marched past. The last group was the 600 soldiers who had followed him from Gath, and their commander was Ittai. David spoke to Ittai and said, You're a foreigner from the town of Gath. You don't have to leave with us. Go back and join the new king. You haven't been with me very long, so why should you have to follow me when I don't even know where I'm going? Take your soldiers and go back. I pray that the Lord will be kind and faithful to you. Ittai answered, Your Majesty, just as surely as you and the Lord live, I will go where you go, no matter if it costs me my life. Then go on, David said. So Ittai and all his men and their families walked on past David. The people of Jerusalem were crying and moaning as David and everyone with him passed by, and he led them across the Kidron Valley and along the road toward the desert. Zadok and Abiathar the priests were there along with several men from the tribe of Levi who were carrying the sacred chest, and they set the chest down and they left it there until David and his followers had gone out of the city. Then David said, Zadok, take the sacred chest back to Jerusalem. If the Lord is pleased with me, he will bring me back and let me see it and his tent again. But if he says he isn't pleased with me, then let him do what he knows is best. So Zadok, you are a good judge of things, and so return to the city and don't cause any trouble. Take your son Ahimaaz with you. Abiathar and his son Jonathan will also go back. I'll wait at the river crossing in the desert until I hear from you. Zadok and Abiathar took the sacred chest back into Jerusalem and stayed there. And David went on up the slope of the Mount of Olives. He was barefoot and crying, and he covered his head to show his sorrow. And everyone with him was crying, and they covered their heads too. Oh boy. Someone told David, Ahithophel is helping Absalom plot against you. And David said, please, Lord, keep Ahithophel's plans from working. And when David reached the top of the Mount of Olives, he met Hushai, the Archite, at a place of worship. Hushai's robe was torn, and dust was on his head. And David told him, if you come with me, you might slow us down. Go back into the city and tell Absalom, Your Majesty, I am your servant. I will serve you now, just as I served your father in the past. Hushai, if you do this, you can help me ruin Ahithophel's plans. Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, will be there with you, and you can tell them everything you hear in the palace. Then have them send their sons Ahimaaz and Jonathan to tell me what you've heard. David's advisor, Hushai, slipped back into Jerusalem, and that was about the same time that Absalom was coming in. So I think we're going to stop there for today. So much is going on between David and his love for the Lord and committing adultery and murder, and then his daughter being raped by his son, and then his son killing that son, and then the son threatening his father to kill him, and then David running away. The Lord was right when he said there would be trouble in David's house. So there's so many things that can happen in our world. So much trouble. But if we look to the Lord to give us that hope, and I mention the word hope again, there's only hope in Him. He is the only one that can bring us through that trouble. I remember one time I had left this city and I was moving up north to another city, and I'd stopped along the way to get a snack in one of the stores. And I was a little upset about moving away, but I felt it's what I should do. So as I was going to get a snack, I clearly heard a voice tell me, you'll be back in 4 months. And I turned around, and my friend that was with me, that was helping me move, I said, did you hear that voice? And he didn't know what I was talking about. And then I moved there to that place, and I had a lot of trouble up there, a lot of trouble. And I had to move again and again. And exactly 4 months later, I moved back here to Victoria. So the Lord delivered me out of that distress and brought me home, and did it on the timeline He said, 4 months. So when you think that God doesn't hear your prayers, be reassured He does hear your prayers, and He does answer your prayers. Now, it's not always in the way that we would like Him to answer, but it's for your good. It's never meant to harm you or hurt you. He will answer your prayers. That is the best way for you. So let's pray. Father, I thank You for the word today. I thank You for this beautiful weather. I thank You for all the animals and the birds and the helicopters and everything that's flying around here today. But Lord, I pray for the people today. I pray that You restore their relationships. Where there's trouble, You will bring peace. Where there's hatred, You will bring love. I pray for their health also, Lord, that You would restore them to good health and take away all their illnesses, because by Your blood, by Your stripes, we are healed. So heal them, Lord, heal them. But most of all, Father, I pray that You would restore them to You and bring them to You if they've never met You before. Lord, You said no one can come to God except through the Son. So, Father, I ask now that You would draw them, Jesus, to the Father, and that they would come to know You and love You. Teach them in the ways they should go, Father. Guide them and protect them all the days of their lives. Have mercy and kindness upon them, Lord. And we thank you again, Father, for all you do in our lives. I thank you, Father, for everything you've done in my life. And I've had many, many miracles. And I will, as the days come, tell you a few more miracles that I've had to give you hope. And know that you're not alone. That he is always with you and he never leaves you. So guys, go and have a great weekend. Pray you get outside a little bit. It's so beautiful out here. And speak encouraging words to someone in your life. Give them some hope. So until the next time, be blessed. Shalom. Be at peace.